I woke up from my dream, the last human being. Lucky me, lucky me. The sea of goldenrod blowing in the wind, that icy wind walking the earth alone, all alone. What if all the people disappeared? The sun would shine, the ocean would clean herself, the sky would be so blue, the sky would be so blue. Would the universe notice? Would the earth shed a tear if all the human beings disappeared?
My name is Ken Claiborne. UUFE is a welcoming community encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual spiritual and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, and promoting a just and sustainable world. Welcome to everyone who's here in person today. This is really a nice thing to see. I was ill last week. I was supposed to do the presentation, and I had influenza A. If you're interested in learning more about UUFE, please go to our website, uufe.org. Thank you.
morning. Thank you, Carl. I'm here with the Fellowship Life, and I'm starting off by congratulating Joan Claiborne, who is March's Volunteer of the Month. Because Ken was ill and unable to deliver the sermon last week, Joan stepped in and presented the sermon, as well as she rang the gong and lit the chalice. She is a member of the membership committee and the worship and arts committee, and she and Joan are regulars at stocking our street side pantry. So thank you for all you do, Joan. There you are. Okay. Next, Helen Mark is recovering well after a brief hospitalization. She is at Greenleaf Health Center and is doing well, apparently. And we send her good wishes, as well as those to Terry and their family. Okay, on to something different. For those who are interested in discussing the parking lot project, please come to an information meeting next Saturday, Sunday, March 20th at noon in the gathering place. So I guess that's right after coffee hour or during coffee hour or whatever. Everyone is welcome, and bring your questions. Our street side pantry is an important part of our neighborhood, helping our neighbors who need help getting meals on their tables. You can help by adding a few extra items to your grocery cart and placing them on the island in the kitchen on Sunday mornings. If this is not convenient, please let me know and we can make other arrangements. There's something called Reigniting the Chalice, the controversy over the proposed eighth principle, which is a convocation sponsored by the Unitarian Universalist Multiracial Unity Action Council. This is a virtual event for UUMUAC members, supporters, and potential members and friends. It will be held on Zoom and will take place on Saturday, April 9th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can find a flyer with details and schedule at uumuac@gmail.com. After the service, I will be happy to give you the address if you are curious. And some really, really good news. Last week, our offering for the Sustainability Fund brought $147. And as you will recall, this is to help pay for repairs and maintenance of our campus. This week's offering will be shared with Elkhart's Women's Shelter. The collection bowls are at the back of the gathering place for your offerings today. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm really happy to see you all here today. Please excuse our technical difficulties. We're still trying to figure out how to make it work here in person and how to make it work for people at home. So hopefully people at home can hear okay. At least we got rid of some of the annoying feedback that we were having in the past. So every week I hope we'll get a little better. So we're still working on completing round one of the small groups. If you haven't been involved in the first round of small groups, we're kind of reflecting on where we are and where we've been in the past. Round two, we're going to start very soon. Maybe we've already scheduled some, I don't know. But round two is going to be more looking to the future. So think about what you would like to see us become, be, what we should be in the community. What do you want UUFE to be? And that's because we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is what the congregation wants. Let's see. I think that's it for now. We're going to have a story for all ages. Unfortunately, technical difficulties prevented. Last week, Ken was going to do this for Story for All Ages, and we had a problem. I forgot a power cord. That was the problem. So this week we're going to repeat. Well, it's not a repeat because we didn't do it in the first place, but stand up. What is it, Ken? Get up, stand up? Yeah. Okay, let me turn down the mics before you start that, Terry.
Back to another edition of Sankofa Read Aloud. Today's story is titled Get Up, Stand Up, based on the song by Bob Marley, adapted by Cedella Marley, illustrated by John J. Kube. I hope that you enjoy this amazing story. When you meet someone talking big and thinking small, and their stinging words push your back against the wall, no matter the silly games that people play, you have hopes and dreams they can't take away. When their words bite, stand up for what's right. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Some people need to be the pond's biggest fish. They don't speak the truth and only want their greedy wish. Remember to be true, the best of yourself. Then you'll be a friend to everybody else. Don't just sit tight. Be a bright light. Get up. Stand up for your rights. Get up. Stand up. Don't give up the fight. Other people parade around with their noses stuck up in the air. They strut about all puffed up, only thinking for what they care. But if you know the value of what life is worth, you'll find your feet firmly planted on the earth. Love with all your might. Be true to what is right. Get up. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Be a good neighbor and cherish your sisters and brothers. Practice being kind to yourself and one another. What you give in goodwill shall be returned back to you. Share your truth and compassion. Together, there's much we can do. So now we see the light. We're going to stand up for our rights. Get up. Stand up for your rights. Get up. Stand up. Don't give up the fight. One love.
We ring the gong 3 times. Once for those who came before us and made a place for us. Once for those who are here now. Once for those who will come after us and build on the dream. Today's chalice lighting is multi-purpose, but it has to do with each of us in the room and the millions who support peace around the world. By B. Robertina. Candlelight. The sun sets, darkness surrounds. There is a candle burning, candlelight, a flickering flame. A tender flame that glows so lovely, peace and quiet, silent and still. Only the sound of a slight crackle by a warm glowing candle. In my moment of silence, in my moment of serenity, I softly whisper a prayer of gratitude, a heartfelt prayer of pure love. My entire being has been lifted by divine love. The flame of the candle had died, for I am now the flame of the candle. For you are now the flame of the candle, glowing with divine love and light. For peace in the world, Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine, Slava Heronium, glory to the heroes. It's also Women's History Month in March, and I wanted to read something special about women. Woman, you are 1,000 stories long with the depth of the ocean, an entire constellation woven into your soul. And you must remember this before any man tries to convince you that you are anything less. Nikita Gill. If we read along in our unison covenant, love
Okay, we're going to try this. Hopefully everybody at home can hear. They're having trouble hearing people on the microphones, so hopefully this will work. Can you all hear me okay? Great. I'm very happy to see you this morning. I'm getting over a cold, so I may take a pause every once in a while to take a sip of water. Today, what if 13 Miracles, Social Miracles, Part 2. Today's March 13th, and that was no coincidence. We decided to do this on the 13th. On February 13th, I spoke about the first 6. of the 13 social miracles identified in Zachary Stein's book, Education in a Time Between Worlds. The first 6 miracles were: 1, a debt jubilee for people and nations; 2, basic income guarantees; 3, integral decentralized social safety net. Try to say that 5 times fast. 4, actual democratic governments and workplaces. 5, public regulation of investment and finance sectors. And 6, legal and economic systems that value the biosphere for its own sake. Part of the reason I chose the song, What If, was that last one. If you missed part 1, you can go to the YouTube channel and watch it anytime you want to. Isn't technology wonderful? Part 1 was called Calling All Dreamers because some of these may seem like far-off dreams. But we have to start somewhere. Might as well dream big. Today I'll try to cover the other 7. And I'm calling this message What If, the song that my bandmate and nephew Brian and I wrote called What If. Ask the question, what if all the people disappeared? And the answer we came up with is the world would heal itself. Is that pessimism or optimism? I would say that we have a chance to save ourselves. I really value last week's message from Ken and Joan Claiborne about our UU principles and all the factual information that was given about climate change. It is the main existential question that we and our children must answer if we're going to survive as a species. And I think the 13 miracles and the 8 principles kind of go together. So it's kind of interesting. So on to the rest of the 13 miracles that we need to make it into the 22nd century. Number 7, renewable and inexhaustible energy. The problem, according to Stein, is not that energy is scarce, but that the systems that we have put in place to regulate and control the flow of energy have made the access to energy scarce. We have accepted the myth that to use less energy is a moral good because there's a limited amount of it available. If we only look at fossil fuels, it is true that there's a limited amount available. But if we look at solar, wind, wave, and other technologies waiting in the wings, we will see there's actually an abundance of available energy. I'd like to quote from Saturday's Goshen News letter to the editor by Matthew Lind, where he responds to a previous letter by Robert Riddle. Quote, Riddle notes that God blessed our nation with abundant sources of natural gas. God also blessed the whole world with a massive thermonuclear reactor 92 million miles from Earth, which according to the U.S. Department of Energy, showers the Earth every hour with 430 quintillion joules of non-polluting energy, more than all of humanity uses in 1 year. We should gratefully harvest it. This is what Stein has to say in the book. And I love trying to read him, but he uses a lot of big words, so if I get stuck on something. When we change the way we think about energy, a great deal else changes. First and foremost, the way that decisions are made would change from a mentality based on scarcity to one based on abundance. Social justice, educational abundance, and the liberation of human potentials would take precedence over efficiency and profit as the ideals governing the construction of energy infrastructures. This would result in a future where energy is localized and radically decentralized based on a wide variety of universally available technologies that generate renewable and clean electricity. There are possible futures in which energy is localized to the level of the household, where there is simply no need to encircle the world with electrical cables. Imagine providing every individual with the technologies they need to create enough free and clean energy to power their home, grow a business, and travel. Number 8, reappropriation of the land, agriculture, and geography. This is a vast and complicated topic that I could devote a whole message to, as a lot of these 13 miracles could have their own standalone message. But I'll try to break it down simply. But be aware this is a topic that needs a lot of attention and further study. And I hope that part of the reason I'm doing this is to throw all these ideas out there for people to grab hold of one or two of them and really dig in. Half of the world is devoted to food production, yet we still have people starving. The food system has become so vast, complicated, wasteful, unable to adapt, that it is in danger of collapse. Arable land and water sources are not distributed evenly across the globe. Artificial political boundaries and borders do not facilitate the just use of resources. Stein argues that food production and the development of land, so like housing developments, planning of cities, should be controlled locally and democratically. He also thinks that political boundaries should be redrawn in more just and reasonable ways. And he goes into a lot of detail, and I'll read a little section of what he has to say, but I think one of the things he points out is that we've, at least in the West, we've kind of evolved into a system where a few real estate developers and a few government officials make decisions that may not be the best for everybody. So he says, when he's talking about political boundaries, and he's talks about how a lot of the political boundaries were established by war and bloodshed and theft. He says these new borders would not be the legacy of blood and exploitation, imperialism and colonial oppression, but instantations, I'm not even sure what that word is. Instantations. Yeah, well, it's, anyway, of functional differentiations and specializations between geographical regions, which emerge from the uniqueness of specific places and people. How would the earth be divided if social justice and the flourishing of educational abundance were the main goals for making differentiation between regions? And he mentioned some specific examples, one in the United States of the Connecticut River Valley, which has a system of urban agricultural centers that currently requires complex infrastructural and commercial integrations across 4 state borders: Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. And Lewis Mumford and others have proposed that this geographically unique region would function better as relatively autonomous political and economic unity, and that similar regional units should be formed in other regions. And I mean, we see that in our own area with our so-called Michiana, which includes parts of Indiana and Michigan. Number 9, total planetary demilitarization. Wow, what a concept. As we find ourselves in a precarious world situation where one country has unjustly invaded another country and made us ponder the possibility of World War III, we could ask, what if we did away with military forces everywhere? Stein realizes that this could not be accomplished overnight and depends on other factors, but he argues that for the continuation of democracy, we must decrease our reliance on weapons and war. he makes some interesting points about how war depends on the idea of there being good guys and bad guys, and how clothing multitudes of people in identical uniforms can erase our individual identities and make it acceptable to kill each other, because ultimately we're expendable and replaceable. It's not hard for me to imagine a world without war. What is hard for me to imagine is how we get from where we are now to that future without a worldwide catastrophe. By the way, part of our feedback that we've been getting from our small groups is that people really appreciated the opportunity at times to talk back or speak back. What was it called? Talk back. So I think we're going to try that today, because my remarks aren't really all that long. So when we get done, we can use that other microphone and we can have people, give an opinion or say, Russ, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Or, just ask a question. Number 10, mutual respect between major religions of the world. A common theme of major religions is peace among all people and nations. Yet often in history, religion has not acted to achieve this lofty goal. And of course, that's one of the great things about being a UU, right? That's part of what we believe, is we want to honor all religious traditions, at least the good parts, right? And that's kind of what Stein has to say here. He says, every tradition has beautiful texts full of wisdom that should be read the world over. And every tradition has texts that are an embarrassment, which reek of parochial times and places and of patriarchy and bigotry. We must all lose space together before we can look each other in the eyes again. Only then can we learn to recognize the unique and valuable wisdom that remains in the others as well as in ourselves. Part of the problem, though, is in some places, religion has been used as a excuse. So religions are not really the cause of extremist interpretations that resort to violence and bigotry. Unjust distribution of resources have created conditions where extremist leaders can distort and twist religion to suit their own ends. Mutual respect between world religions and the unity, not dissolution, of spiritual traditions could serve to bring peace and prosperity in a truly just society. Number 11, absence of oppression based on race, gender, sexual orientation, etc. In his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Ibram X. Kendi talks about how any ist ideas come about when we stop treating people as individuals and start categorizing and vilifying or exalting people based on their membership in a group. Stein echoes this idea and warns of the danger of going to either extreme, denying the individual because they may not live up to some universal expectation, but also the other extreme of denying the universal potentials that we all share to overemphasize our differences. So he's arguing for a balance. To be honest, his thoughts here are very deep. And I'm not sure I'm conveying them very well, but I'm going to read another passage from the book. Historically, religious differences have been at the center of some of the most violent and oppressive social systems in history. Uniting and transforming the world's religions would therefore bring a great deal of peace and justice in its wake. But there are other long-standing forms of oppression and dehumanization that are not tied to religion. The list includes near universal subordination and oppression of women, insidious forms of racial and ethnic prejudice, discrimination based on economic class, gender identity, and sexual orientation, ableism, ageism, and a sprawling array of other disgraceful realities that tear and fray at the social fabric of our civilization. These are oppressive social realities based on differences that create tremendous suffering and fundamentally undermine the possibility of educational abundance. Often, tragically, the very qualities that make one subject to these forms of oppression are the same qualities that make up one's most essential potentials and educational possibilities. Stein goes on to quote Emanuel Wallerstein, who says that after the French Revolution, human status changed from being subjects to being citizens. Citizens have rights, but we then proceeded to further define what a citizen was and what groups of people could and could not be citizens. Often, the citizen group became a small minority, which limited the rights and oppressed many, many groups of people. In order to move forward into Stein's vision of an age of abundance, we must lose our prejudices and biases against groups of people and embrace not only our individualism that makes us special, but also our universal traits that make us human. Number 12, universal de-alienation and rehumanization. Being truly human is very difficult to do. Why? Because our constructed society puts constant pressure on us to be other than what we are. I see this all the time at school. Children are not allowed to be their true selves at school. They are coerced and bribed into doing things that they are not choosing to do. Those that are able to conform and may begin to like the structure and routine. Those that are able to conform may begin to like the structure and routine. Those who are not able to sit still, be quiet, listen, are excluded, punished, and made to feel inadequate. If they are freed from these constraints, they don't know how to act at first. They may not know who their true selves are. Recent polls suggest that many people are unhappy with their jobs. They hate going to work, or they have become numb to the routine to the point where they have just become inefficient cogs in an uncaring machine. And this is what Stein has to say. We live in a world in which so many people's lives are distorted by unjust social realities that we have no idea what humanity is truly capable of becoming. Each individual has massive reserves of untapped potential, often squandered and neglected during the struggle to make a living and conform to social roles that deny individual potency and uniqueness. We are alienated from our true nature, dehumanized by the forms of socialization that dominate our culture. Often in school and in life, we look at groups of people as competitors. Who are the winners and who are the losers? What if we shifted our focus a bit and applied the lens of everyone is a unique genius? Everyone has strengths. In school, we stress reading, writing, arithmetic, a lot of paper, pencil, even if it involves an iPad and a computer, a lot of watching and listening. Those modes get emphasized and elevated over speaking, visual and spatial acuity, tactile and kinesthetic understanding of the world. Stein talks in his book about alienization from our true selves, and how if we could rehumanize the human race, we could achieve things beyond our wildest dreams. Number 13, science and technology in the interest of human flourishing and exploration. Keep this part short and sweet, although it too could be a topic all to itself. Science and technology unchecked will not save us, but only contribute to our self-destruction. Without changing our worldview, in our systems, we will not be able to use science and technology in ways that contribute to our long-term survival and flourishing. Science has been the tool of the military and the capitalistic system. If we don't change this course, then as mankind spreads itself around the universe, if we can beat the climate change clock, we will also spread all the maladies and distortions that have come to plague us. Stein is optimistic, though. In my first message, I talked about a Star Wars future, which I categorize as greedy, capitalistic, and full of war, or a Star Wars future, just, equitable, and peaceful. This is what Stein envisions if we can accomplish these social miracles. The realization of these social miracles would mark the beginning of a new era in human history. Imagine a future in which world peace and social justice are taken for granted aspects of life on Earth. In this future, each and every individual is free to grow and learn endlessly in the context of educational abundance. On such a planet, history will no longer be propelled by conflict, scarcity, and fear. What then will humanity do? More specifically, with our interiors liberated through the democratization of educational abundance, what would be the nature of our exterior endeavors? What if? Let's start today to build a world like Stein imagines. So I think should we do the talk back now or do the hymn first, or how's that done?
I think we wait till after we sit down and
Do the hymn?
I think that's what we do.
Okay.
Be good, go forth. Multiply. No, don't multiply. Yeah, multiply. Okay, go ahead. No. You want to use that or
Thank you. This was not conveyed to the right people, I guess. But I wanted to give an update on where the pledge campaign is right now. And to members and friends of UUFE, I'm William Becker. I'm the chair of the Stewardship Committee. And along with TJ Sham, we are the committee. The Stewardship Committee is pleased to continue to report 3.5 weeks after the mailing of the UUFE 2022-2023 Operations Year Budget Pledge Campaign. The response from members and friends has been fruitful. Currently, UUFE has a pledge commitment of $68,630, or right at 80% of the minimum goal of $88,000 as a target. This minimum goal of $88,000 is a budget necessary, as we all know, to keep UUFE moving into the future, hopefully. To meet the minimum goal, we still require pledges of $19,370, or right at 20%. Without a doubt, the amazing resiliency of UUFE supporters demonstrates their efforts to put forth and continue to put forth an admirable testament to our strength as Unitarian Universalists. The Stewardship Committee offers its sincerest thanks to the 28 campaign pledges, their respondents due to date, and all who continue to affirm their contributions to UUFE. We encourage those 25 or so remaining UUFE members and friends who have not mailed in their pledges to do so now. Starting Tuesday, March 15th, committee members, myself and TJ Sham, will be calling previous year's pledge respondents whom we have not heard from, asking for their continued financial support of UUFE. Please join us and be a part of our mutual and continuing journey together as we make way for those who will come after us and build on the dream. Thank you.
Thank you, William. I have to confess, I'm one of the people who haven't returned my pledge yet, but I will do that. So does anybody have anything they want to say about the message or anything pertinent?
Yeah, I was particularly moved by the opening song, and just ran through my mind real fast, and not to be pessimistic, but you know, the earth really doesn't give two hoots in hell about humanity. And the bitter irony is why, with our competence, our intelligence, our possibilities, humanity can't wake up to that. It's just boggling.
Can we let the gallery so we can see them too? Or so they can take part?
Yeah, do you want to go to gallery? Maybe it's me. Okay. Okay, anybody else? Oh, okay, Ken?
Yes, as last week, as we mentioned last week, E.O. Wilson, who was a great proponent of science and scientific thought, was one of the ones who mentioned the fact that if humans disappeared today, the world would start becoming more of a paradise like it had been in the past. But if all of the insects in the world disappeared today, the world wouldn't last very long.
Right.
It's really a statement that, if you think about it, it's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, I think the world will correct it one way or the other, with or without us.
I'm 83, and I know that the journey to get to a place that you're talking about is a long one. It has been for me. In 1983, I came here because I became very aware that patriarchy was invading our English language, our thinking, churches, businesses, governments, and everything. And it's a slow process to get away from that. So thanks for those 13 points.
Anybody else?
I don't really mean to sound negative, but one of my fondest memories of Vern Thomas was sitting in a Science and Society meeting, and some of you have heard this and heard him say it, that looking at the earth today and the world, the way it was going, he said, I'm really glad I'm as old as I am.
Speaking of Vern, we're planning a memorial service April 23rd. The family has contacted us and asked if we could have a memorial service here April 23rd. So I think 1 o'clock.
So I'll just say one short thing about our experience last week at Bloomington when we were showing our solidarity to Ukraine on the public square in Monroe County, right downtown Bloomington. There were people who were not even close to being Ukrainian that were in solidarity, which proves that we've got humanity. But just 10, 15 feet away was a man who was disturbed and drunk, I guess, as vulgar as a human could be toward us. And when you see the spread of hate and love, we're forced as human beings along a spectrum to pick a spot. And it's easy for us in our humanitarian, humanist way to drift to the right side, the correct side of being a human. But we have systems that are set up to keep us from flourishing in a lot of ways. I won't go into a lot of those, but we have to continue to know the simplicity of what love and life is all about. And it sure isn't war, and it sure isn't violence, and it sure isn't hate. And we've all lived through some version of that in our lifetime. Let's keep hugging each other. Let's keep talking to each other. Let's keep supporting 13 principles that you talked about and our 7+1. Is it official yet? Do we have 8?
No.
It's not official yet.
2023 G did. Yeah.
Okay. So we got 7 we can live on, and we can sure embrace the 8th. But the word is engage and embrace. 2 words, engage and embrace.
Okay, I guess we'll go to the postlude and then feel free to stick around for a few minutes and chat.
This